The alien stared. Its eyes, a cold mosaic of light, reflected nothing of what it saw. But the human was smiling. And that smile carried a weight, a defiance, a confidence the alien could not compute. Why would they smile at the edge of annihilation? They had been searching for centuries, scouring systems, mapping uncharted stars, analyzing faint energy traces that might indicate life. And here it was, this lonely outpost, drifting at the edge of a dead system utterly alone. The alien intelligence had catalogued countless human colonies, most vanished, lost to war, famine, or the unforgiving void. Some were destroyed. Some simply never existed, yet this one had survived, somehow. It was a human colony that no record had remembered. A world abandoned before most of the galaxy, even new humans had ventured beyond their cradle. Generations lost, erased from history, until now. Captain Dane of the survey vessel Vigilant Star stared at the holographic display, her hand trembling slightly over the controls. She had read reports of lost colonies before, but never seen one herself. Never touched the silence of a planet abandoned for centuries. The surface was cities buried beneath dust storms that never ceased, oceans receding like wounded memories. And yet signals pulsed from within, living signals, human signals. "How is this possible?" her science officer whispered. Fear threaded his words. He stopped, swallowing. "They should be extinct." "They shouldn't," corrected, her voice soft but unwavering. "Humans, they don't die easily." Her words hung in the cabin like a prayer, fragile yet defiant. They had all been trained to expect impossibilities. Humans had a history of defying expectations. History remembered our wars, our sacrifices, our stubbornness. Yet even the most experienced officers were shaken when confronted with the impossible alive before them. The first transmission from the colony crackled through the comms. Static, fragmented. A child's voice, raw and unpracticed, yet unmistakably human. "We see you." A chill ran down the spines of the crew. 100 questions erupted unspoken. How had they survived? Who had led them? Why hadn't they returned sooner? The galaxy had moved on, claiming this star system, dividing it, charting it as empty. And now humans, lost, forgotten humans, were speaking back. His heart pounded. She remembered her own grandparents who had fled a world destroyed by their own species' mistakes. She remembered the stories of courage, sacrifice, hope that had carried them across the stars. Now, she realized, this colony carried that same legacy, a human spirit that refused to fade. The planet's surface came into view. Mountains jagged as broken teeth, rivers carving scars across arid plains, cities like the skeletons of giants. Yet signs of life moved below, small figures darting between structures, organized, disciplined, defiant. Humans, children, elders, warriors, farmers, all of them alive, thriving despite the galaxy's insistence that they should not. Then came the first shock. Ships, sleek, fast, and completely unknown, rose from hidden ports. Not enough to claim the system yet, but enough to send a message. Humans were here, and they were ready. Leaned closer to the display. "They've built an entire defense network, all of it hidden, all of it human, undetectable until now." The alien analysts monitoring the region could not comprehend the subtle brilliance of human adaptation. They saw chaos, disorganized energy, a spark threatening the order of their calculated universe. What they did not see was strategy, patience, and stubborn resolve. Humans could take nothing and turn it into everything. A voice whispered from the bridge comms, They're signaling for us to land." Took a deep breath. She felt the gravity of history pressing down on her. This was no longer a simple exploration mission. This was a revelation, a challenge, a warning to the galaxy. Humans may disappear, but they never surrender. The lost colony had waited, hidden in silence, but now it had emerged, and it would not merely survive. She stared at the barren, windswept world below, and her mind traced the possibilities. They could be hostile, defensive, or, worse, perfectly indifferent. But deep down, she knew one truth, one human truth. Courage was not born from certainty, it was born from defiance. From a refusal to bow, even when all the universe seemed aligned against you. The human smile, remembered in the alien's confused gaze, carried all of that. A warning, a promise, a spark of rebellion that could ignite an entire star system. Exhaled slowly, her fingers gripping the console. She knew as the comms lit up with more voices that this moment would be remembered, that this was only the beginning. And as the first lost humans stepped into the light of a galaxy that had forgotten them, a quiet, unshakable truth settled in her chest. Some spirits, once unleashed, could never be contained. And in the void beyond, the galaxy waited. "They told us no one would survive here," said a voice from the bridge, low and almost reverent. Dane didn't need to look, she knew who had spoken. The calm officer, young, nervous, yet holding on to the thread of hope that humans seemed to weave so effortlessly. "And yet, they are alive, all of them." Alive, the word felt heavy, almost sacred. In the cold calculus of the galaxy, survival was measured in probability, in technology, in alliances. But humans measured it differently. They measured it in grit, in stubbornness, in laughter echoing in the dark. That was their currency. That was their weapon. The first landing party approached the surface. Watched, mesmerized. Their descent was precise, almost ritualistic. Each movement spoke of generations born under hardship, trained in silence, yet thriving with ingenuity that no simulation could predict. They landed in formations that mirrored nothing the galaxy's military strategists had ever studied, yet were perfect in execution. A child ran forward, barefoot, laughing, arms wide, a simple human gesture of welcome, and behind them the elders, the teachers, the engineers, the ones who had kept memory alive when hope had threatened to die, felt a pang of awe, centuries lost, and yet every thread of culture, every story, every stubborn refusal to vanish had been preserved. "Why did you hide?" asked aloud, almost to herself, as if speaking might summon an answer. The colony commander stepped forward. He was older than she expected, but not worn down. His eyes carried the storms of decades, yet burned with the same defiance she had seen reflected in her own species for generations. "Because we knew the galaxy was not ready for us," he said simply, "and because we were not ready to surrender." The words were simple, but each one carried the weight of centuries. Survival had been measured not just in adaptation, but in patience, in watching, learning, waiting. The galaxy had assumed absence was extinction, but the humans had outlasted expectation, outlasted the void, outlasted time itself. Science officer muttered something about impossible logistics, about energy requirements, about how such a hidden network could exist undetected. Didn't answer. She didn't need to, she understood. It wasn't calculation that had kept them alive. It was courage. It was stubbornness. It was the refusal to accept the universe's verdict. And now the first signs of the colony's strength became undeniable. Hidden shipyards revealed themselves, launching vessels sleek and deadly, but also imbued with human ingenuity. Weapons systems designed not to intimidate, but to exploit weakness. Defenses that were improvisation perfected into art. This was survival turned into mastery. The alien observers, watching from light years away, could not comprehend the anomaly before them. They saw only chaos where humans saw opportunity. The lost colony moved with a rhythm that logic. Every human action, every decision was tempered by centuries of instinct, forged under pressure, sharpened by necessity. And still, there was something more, something beneath the surface that no technology could measure. Humor, loyalty, sacrifice. As the landing party set up communications with ship, she noticed a small interaction. A child offered a meager ration of food to an injured worker. The worker shook his head, refused, but the child insisted, smiling with the ease of someone who believed that kindness could be a weapon as powerful as any laser or missile. Felt a lump in her throat. Humans, they carried themselves into survival not just with tools or tactics, but with hearts, with souls, with courage that reason. She realized, almost instinctively, that this colony had waited for the moment when the galaxy might doubt them again. And now they were emerging, not merely as survivors, but as a force that could not be ignored. A warning signal flashed across the bridge display. The neighboring systems were watching. The galaxy had begun to notice. "They're calling our bluff," said tactical officer, voice tight. "They expect us to underestimate them." Didn't answer. She didn't need to. She had seen it. She had seen humans smile when the universe said no. She had seen them rise from ruins, from dust, from despair. And she knew the truth, the one the galaxy refused to admit aloud. Humans were unstoppable. As the first lost humans raised their banners, simple, unadorned, yet unshakably present, understood the subtlety of their power. It was not in firepower alone. It was in patience, in courage, in the refusal to vanish even when history itself had written them out. And in that silence, in that brief pause before the galaxy could react, a single truth echoed across the void. Humanity, once hidden, had returned. And nothing, no empire, no fleet, no alien intelligence, could truly reckon with the force that was born of resilience, hope, and defiance. The galaxy was about to remember. "They thought they could erase us," whispered, watching the fleet form below. Her voice was quiet, almost lost against the hum of the ship's engines, but it carried more weight than any cannon. "They didn't know what humans are capable of when no one is looking." The first signals from neighboring star systems had already arrived. Confused, cautious, some tinged with fear. Entire governments paused, unsure how to classify the anomaly before them. A lost human colony, forgotten, presumed extinct, had emerged from the void, hidden and strong, not as a single weak settlement, but as a force. A system spanning testament to patience, ingenuity, and relentless resolve. The galaxy did not know how to react, and that hesitation was where humans thrived. On the planet's surface, the lost humans moved with quiet purpose. Supply lines, logistics hubs, hidden weapons caches, all revealed as if by instinct. They worked not with panic, but with methodical precision. Children trained in emergency drills, elders coordinating communication networks, engineers building defenses almost invisible to scanners. It was more than survival, it was mastery. Leaned over the holographic display, watching the first small skirmish unfold on the outskirts of the system. A scouting drone from a neighboring empire had wandered too close, expecting minimal resistance. What it found instead was human improvisation turned lethal artistry. The drone's circuits fried in seconds, its systems rerouted by countermeasures the alien engineers had never imagined. And through it all, the humans smiled. Not cruelly, not arrogantly. They simply acted with confidence that only centuries of surviving the impossible could grant. "They're using the environment itself," her tactical officer said, disbelief lining his tone. "They turn terrain, wind patterns, even dust storms into weapons." "Of course they did," said softly. "Humans always adapt, always find a way." And then a ripple ran through the colony's communications. The commanders were coordinating something larger, something that the galaxy would not predict. A full mobilization, not for attack, but for assertion. A statement that humans were back, not to beg for recognition, not to ask for mercy, but to claim a place they had never truly lost. From orbit could see it forming, a line of ships, hidden ports opening one by one, entire fleets that should not exist appearing like ghosts. Every vessel, every structure moved with a rhythm the galaxy's sensors couldn't decipher. Human intuition, human strategy. The galaxy had counted on humans' absence. Humans had counted on their own resilience. The first emissary arrived, not through diplomacy but through audacious presence. A single vessel, unarmed yet radiating intent, slipped through blockade protocols. No alien fleet could fathom the audacity. No command could imagine the courage it took. And the message was simple: we are here, we were never gone, and this system is ours. Felt a shiver run down her spine. The galaxy had never seen humans act with this kind of deliberate, quiet power. Never seen survival transformed into sovereignty. And she realized the truth. What was unfolding was not just reclamation, but revelation. The human spirit, once hidden, was becoming a force the galaxy could not ignore. On the bridge, her crew exchanged glances. The tension was palpable. Every alien fleet had rules, every empire had boundaries, and every calculation assumed humans were predictable, fragile, replaceable. They had been wrong. Every misstep, every underestimation, every assumption of extinction had been a gift to the humans waiting in silence. And now the galaxy would learn. A small, calm chirp interrupted her thoughts. It was a personal message from the colony commander, simple yet profound. "We don't seek war, we seek recognition, but make no mistake, we will defend what is ours." Nodded, she understood perfectly. Humans never sought conflict for its own sake. They sought survival, dignity, purpose. And when threatened, they fought with a ferocity that no algorithm, no alien calculus could predict. As night fell across the planet's surface, the lost colony lit fires, not as signals to the galaxy but as beacons to themselves. They had endured centuries of isolation, of expectation erased, of history written without them. And now they stood united, proud, unbroken. A single thought settled in Sm's mind, a truth she could not ignore. The galaxy might try to challenge them, might attempt to erase them again. But it would fail. Humans were not merely survivors. They were a force of will, a flame that could not be snuffed, a tide that could not be halted. And somewhere deep in that emerging human fleet, a child laughed, barefoot, fearless, carrying the same spark of hope that had guided generations before. Smiled. Humanity was back, and the universe had no idea what it had just awakened. The galaxy waited, and for the first time in centuries it felt uncertain. They told them it couldn't be done. Sm's voice was barely audible over the thrumming of her ship's engines. They said the humans had vanished, that the system was empty, that no one could survive out here. And yet the humans had survived. Not quietly, not passively, but with the kind of stubborn, blazing defiance that could not be calculated or predicted. The lost colony had waited, hidden, observing, learning, and now they were ready. The first fleet arrived, not in curiosity but in force. Alien warships, sleek, efficient, bristling with weapons designed to intimidate, to overwhelm. Their commanders assumed they faced a weak settlement, a forgotten colony clinging desperately to survival. They assumed wrong. From orbit watched the humans prepare. They moved with calm precision, as though the centuries of isolation had taught them patience in ways no academy could. Fleets emerged from hidden ports. Defensive grids lit up, turning barren landscapes into fortified strongholds, yet the humans did not attack immediately. They waited. Always they waited. A voice on her bridge whispered, trembling, They're not firing first." Shook her head. "That's the point. They don't need to. Humans never attack out of fear. They attack with purpose, and they defend with everything they have." The alien fleet advanced, scanning, probing, confident in their superiority. But each probe was neutralized, rerouted, or destroyed by systems that seemed to anticipate every move. The humans had transformed every obstacle into a weapon, every weakness into strength. They had taken absence, assumed loss, and converted it into power no one could predict. Then came the first strike, not a grand assault but a whisper of strategy. One small human ship slipped past the alien formation, targeting a key engine array. Systems failed. Communications jammed. Panic rippled across the enemy command. They had underestimated the humans. They had always underestimated the humans. Felt her chest tighten. She had seen courage before, but this was something else. Not reckless bravery, but calculated defiance. The humans weren't just fighting for survival, they were claiming what was theirs. Every move carried the weight of centuries, every decision the confidence of experience no one else had. The alien commander, cold and precise, barked orders. But no algorithm could match instinct honed by generations of hardship. Every human maneuver seemed to anticipate the next, turning prediction into failure and arrogance into disaster. And yet there was humanity in it too. A child's laughter carried over the comm channels, an audacious, fearless sound in the middle of chaos. Felt a lump in her throat. They fought with ingenuity, yes, but they also fought with heart. They fought because they were human, and humans could not be contained. The battle unfolded not as a spectacle of destruction, but as a study of resolve. Alien ships fell not to brute force, but to strategy, improvisation, and the unexpected. The lost humans moved like shadows and storms, unpredictable yet precise. Every setback was met with ingenuity, every loss with resilience. On the planet below, the elders watched the skis, coordinating civilians, rationing resources, and maintaining morale. Every citizen played a role. Every human understood their place in the survival of the whole. And through it all, they never lost their humanity, the laughter, the small acts of kindness, the courage that refused to bow even under fire. Realized something profound. This wasn't just a battle, it was a lesson. The galaxy had measured humans in metrics it could calculate, but humans measured themselves differently, by courage, by loyalty, by refusal to yield. And in that measure, they were unstoppable. As the alien fleet began to falter, panic rising among their ranks heard the softest whisper on her bridge. "They're unstoppable," her tactical officer said, awe-threading his voice. Knotted eyes locked on the display. Not because they're stronger, not because they have better weapons. They're unstoppable because they are human, and humans don't give up. The humans pressed forward, not recklessly, but with a calm inevitability. Every system they seized, every maneuver they executed, carried the weight of generations who had refused to disappear. The galaxy had written them out. The universe had counted them lost. And yet, here they were, alive, thriving, and taking their place once more. And in that moment understood what the galaxy would never fully comprehend. Humans didn't just survive. They endured. They adapted. They reclaimed. And they did so with courage, humor, loyalty, and hope, traits that could never be predicted or calculated, but which could change the course of history. The alien fleet retreated, confused, fractured, unable to comprehend the force it had underestimated. The humans had not just defended their world. They had shown the galaxy that absence did not mean defeat, that survival did not require submission, and that humanity, once underestimated, could alter the balance of power simply by refusing to vanish. Exhaled slowly, letting the tension release. The galaxy would remember this moment. The humans had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. Above, the stars seemed to shimmer differently, perhaps in recognition, perhaps in awe, or perhaps simply because humans had reminded the universe that even in silence, even in absence, the human spirit burns when it is least expected. And as the lost colony raised their flags against the horizon, knew one truth with certainty. The galaxy had seen humans survive, but it had not yet seen what humans were capable of when they refused to be forgotten. The universe would tremble, but it would also learn. "They told them to surrender," whispered, staring at the system-wide holographic display. Entire planets, moons, and outposts. The galaxy assumed humans could be contained by fear, by force, by treaties written on paper. But humans never surrendered. They never truly bowed, not when their legacy hung in the balance, not when centuries of survival depended on their defiance. The lost colony had emerged from silence like a storm. One by one, they claimed planets that had been abandoned, outposts that had been deemed empty, not with brute force, but with precision, patience, and audacity that no empire could anticipate. Every move was calculated, yet somehow instinctive, a testament to generations who had learned to endure against impossible odds. From orbit, watched as fleets deployed to strategic positions, securing vital star lanes. Civilian vessels, converted for both transport and defense, moved with quiet efficiency. Engineers and scientists worked in tandem, rerouting energy, enhancing shields, and ensuring the colony's survival while preparing for the inevitable retaliation. "They're not just reclaiming the system," muttered her tactical officer. "They're transforming it." Nodded, a slow smile forming. She could see it clearly now. The humans were rewriting what it meant to survive. Outposts became fortresses, barren worlds became sources of power, and the galaxy's calculations were thrown into chaos. Every underestimate, every assumption of weakness had been a gift, and humans had accepted it. But this was more than strategy. This was human spirit in action. Children trained in simulated emergencies, learning to adapt. Elders teaching history, philosophy, and strategy, ensuring the past was never forgotten. Citizens volunteering in unspoken roles, understanding that the survival of the whole depended on the contribution of every individual. Could feel the pulse of a civilization reborn, not just fighting to exist, but thriving. The first emissaries from neighboring star systems arrived, not as conquerors, but as watchers. Curious, cautious, some seeking alliances, others preparing for conflict. The humans did not react with arrogance nor with fear. They acted with confidence born from centuries of preparation. One simple gesture, a beacon of light, a flag raised in silent defiance, was enough to convey the message: "We are here. We have always been here, and we will not be ignored." A subtle tension ran through the crew of the Vigilant Star. Some feared escalation. Others marveled at the human fleet, the lost colony's uncanny ability to anticipate threats. Every action, every maneuver was a study in resilience and ingenuity. The galaxy thought it understood humans. The galaxy thought it could predict them, and the galaxy would be proven wrong once again. His mind wandered to the personal stories that must have unfolded on the surface. Children learning under the open sky, elders recounting tales of survival, of hope, of defiance. The quiet bravery of those who had lived in isolation, who had held the line against despair. Humans weren't just reclaiming territory, they were reclaiming history, identity, and dignity. Then came the first coordinated test from the outside galaxy. A fleet, larger and better armed, approached the system with the assumption that strength alone would compel surrender. But the humans did not panic. They deployed strategies that seemed impossible, using misdirection, terrain, and timing that could not be predicted. Fleets appeared from hidden bays, striking with precision, disappearing before retaliation could be organized. His tactical officer muttered, disbelief in his voice. "It's like they know exactly what we're thinking." "They do," said softly, almost to herself. "Because humans always do. When no one else understands, they rely on what they know best, each other and themselves." The battle unfolded as much in silence as in action. Every move was deliberate, calculated, yet infused with human instinct. A single ship could hold off an entire squadron. A lone engineer could redirect power across multiple installations to protect civilians and soldiers alike. Every human act carried intention, every risk calculated yet fearless. And yet, amidst the strategy and the expansion, the heart of humanity shone. Acts of kindness, of courage, of self-sacrifice unfolded quietly across the system. A child running across a battlefield to deliver a message. A medic risking life to save a stranger. Leaders placing the welfare of the people above personal glory. These were not tactical decisions, they were human decisions. Decisions that no algorithm could anticipate. Decisions that defined what it meant to be unstoppable. Watched, a deep, quiet awe settling over her. The lost colony was no longer just reclaiming a star system. They were redefining the rules of survival, rewriting expectations, and showing the galaxy that human resilience could not be measured in fleets, weapons, or technology alone. As night fell across the worlds of the reclaimed system, fires burned not only as signals of presence, but as beacons of hope. Hope carried in laughter, in whispered instructions, in the unbroken will of a people who had endured centuries of being forgotten. The galaxy had assumed absence meant weakness. The galaxy had assumed time had erased humanity. And yet here they were, a civilization forged in silence, patience, and defiance, claiming their place among the stars. And realized, with a certainty that chilled and inspired her simultaneously, that this was only the beginning. Humans had emerged from the shadows not merely to survive, but to remind the universe that courage, ingenuity, and heart were forces no empire could suppress. Somewhere below, a child laughed. Somewhere, an elder nodded. Somewhere, humans stood together, unshaken, unbroken, unstoppable. The galaxy would remember. And the humans were just getting started. They thought the humans were weak. His voice trembled, not with fear, but with awe. They thought that centuries of silence meant surrender, that absence was extinction. They were wrong. From orbit, the full scope of the lost colony's resurgence became visible. Fleets that had once seemed small and scattered now formed coordinated formations, flowing through the system with an elegance and precision that was impossible to predict. Not a single move wasted. Not a single human lost unnecessarily. Every strategy, every tactic, carried the weight of generations who had survived the impossible, and the lessons of every ancestor who had refused to vanish. The neighboring systems began to react. Fleets appeared from multiple directions, each commanding officer confident that superior numbers and firepower would force submission. But the humans were ready. They had anticipated every move, every calculation, every arrogance that the galaxy could throw at them. "They've set a trap," whispered the tactical officer, watching a formation disappear behind an asteroid belt. "But it's not a trap, it's something else." "Observation," said softly. "Patience. Humans always observe first, they study, they adapt, and when the time comes, they act with precision no one else can comprehend." And act they did. With a sequence of maneuvers that expectations, the lost humans forced the alien fleets into positions where strength became vulnerability. Mines concealed in asteroid belts, misdirection of energy signals, improvisation of battlefield terrain. Every element was used as a weapon. Every failure the galaxy anticipated became a victory the humans had planned in advance. From the surface, civilians watched in awe as their defenders moved with quiet genius. Children trained in emergency drills became messengers and scouts. Elders coordinated logistics, ensuring that every resource was used to maximum effect. And every human, from the youngest to the oldest, carried the same unyielding resolve. They were more than a colony. They were a civilization reborn, and the galaxy was about to see the true force of humanity. Felt a lump in her throat as she realized the magnitude of what she was witnessing. The humans were not simply fighting for survival, they were rewriting history. Every act of courage, every decision born of ingenuity and instinct was a statement to the galaxy. You may have forgotten us, you may have tried to erase us, but we endure, and we will not be. A sudden alarm cut through the silence of the bridge. Sensors detected a new fleet emerging from the outer system. Larger, heavily armed, confident, expecting an easy victory, and yet the humans did not flinch. Instead, they adapted, watched as hidden ports opened, releasing ships that had been concealed for decades. Civilian vessels joined in, moving with the same precision and determination as the warships. The humans were not relying on raw firepower. They were relying on every trait the galaxy had underestimated: courage, ingenuity, adaptability, and the relentless will to survive. The first volley of fire erupted, and the alien fleet was caught off guard. Missiles rerouted, shields reinforced. Strategy outmaneuvered strategy. Every move by the humans was calculated yet instinctive, and through it all there was a human heartbeat, a defiance that could not be measured, calculated, or predicted. Remembered the stories her grandparents had told her, tales of courage in the face of impossible odds, of defiance when hope seemed lost, of humor and kindness in moments of despair. And now she saw it in action on a galactic scale. Humans were taking what they had learned through centuries of struggle and turning it into a force the galaxy had never expected. The alien commanders began to falter. Confusion rippled through their ranks. Every calculation had failed. Every assumption had been shattered. They had underestimated humans once again, and every time they did, the humans gained more ground, more confidence, more proof that their spirit could not be contained. Exhaled, letting the tension drain from her chest. She knew, with a certainty that was both terrifying and inspiring, that this was a turning point. The humans were not merely defending a lost colony. They were demonstrating the full measure of what it meant to be unstoppable. And somewhere in the quiet moments between battles, a child laughed. Somewhere an elder nodded. Somewhere humans stood together, unshaken, unbroken, unstoppable. The galaxy had assumed absence meant weakness. They had assumed time had erased humanity. And yet here they were, a civilization reborn, claiming their place among the stars, and proving that courage, ingenuity, and heart could alter the balance of power itself. The universe was watching, and it would never underestimate humanity again. They said humans would never last, murmured, staring at the glowing map of the system. Entire planets, moons, and stations now bore the mark of the lost colony. They said we would be forgotten. That silence meant defeat. They were wrong. From orbit, the colony's achievements were staggering. Once abandoned, now hummed with life. Hidden fleets patrolled key routes. Mining stations, research outposts, and communication hubs, each meticulously organized, had been integrated into a system-wide network designed to anticipate every threat. Not by force alone, but by ingenuity, coordination, and relentless determination. The galaxy watched, confused, awed, frightened. Empires that had assumed humans were a spent species now scrambled to understand how one forgotten colony had turned absence into absolute influence. Fleets that once expected obedience now hesitated, scanning, calculating, reassessing. And with every hesitation, humans gained ground. Observed the interactions from the bridge. Civilians, soldiers, and leaders alike moved in harmony, united by a common thread: survival. Not just their own, but the survival of a people the galaxy had tried to erase. A child delivered vital information to a tactical post. An elder guided engineers as they rerouted energy to reinforce key points. Volunteers worked in silence, understanding that every small act carried monumental weight. "They are more than a fleet," whispered her tactical officer. "They are a civilization." "Exactly," said, her eyes never leaving the map. "They are human." And humans were unpredictable. That was their true power. Where others relied on rigid hierarchy or algorithmic precision, humans adapted. They improvised. They risked everything for moments of insight that no enemy could predict. The galaxy had always underestimated them. Always. Then came the first coordinated diplomacy. Envoys from nearby systems arrived, cautious, tentative, expecting weakness. What they found was a population alive with purpose, standing united in the face of history's doubts. And they listened as the colony commander, calm yet resolute, spoke not with threats but with unwavering authority. "We do not seek conquest," he said. "We seek recognition. We have survived when the universe wrote us out. We have endured when you assumed we would fail. And now we claim what is ours, not with arrogance but with the certainty of those who refuse to vanish." The emissaries, uncertain, realized something profound. These humans were unlike any other species in the galaxy. Their strength was not in numbers or technology alone. It was in courage, in loyalty, in hope that never died, and in humor, in sacrifice, in the defiance that carried through every generation. On the bridge felt a swell of pride and awe. She remembered the countless stories of human resilience, the struggles, the ingenuity, the laughter in the dark, the courage in the face of impossible odds. And now she saw it realized on a scale the galaxy could not ignore. The humans consolidated their power not through domination, but through integration. Trade routes reopened. Resources were shared. Research and communication networks extended across planets and moons. Every act reinforced the idea that humans were not merely survivors, they were architects of a new order. And yet, even in victory, they remained human. Small gestures of kindness persisted. Children played amidst the chaos, laughter ringing over the calm channels. Civilians aided soldiers without hesitation. Elders offered wisdom tempered with patience. Every action, no matter how small, carried the same courage and hope that had kept them alive for centuries. Realize then what the galaxy would never fully understand. Humans did not endure because they were strong alone. They endured because every human, from child to elder, from civilian to soldier, understood their connection to one another. Their strength was collective. Their resilience was shared. Their defiance absolute. The alien fleets that once threatened the system began to withdraw, uncertain, unprepared for the scale and ingenuity of human coordination. Every step, every advance by the lost colony had rewritten the rules. The galaxy had expected obedience. Humans had delivered audacity. The galaxy had predicted weakness. Humans had delivered unity, courage, and brilliance. As night fell across the reclaimed worlds, lights burned in every settlement, signaling life, hope, and determination. The lost colony had returned, and the galaxy would never forget. Looked out at the stars, feeling the quiet hum of power, resilience, and human spirit. They had claimed a system not with arrogance but with purpose, not with fear but with certainty. And somewhere deep in that human heart, she sensed the promise of what was to come. Survival was only the beginning. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Humans endure, humans adapt, humans rise. And humans cannot be stopped. "They thought they had erased us," whispered, staring at the glowing star system below. Centuries of absence, of silence, of forgotten history, all assumed to be final. And yet here they were, alive, thriving, unyielding. The humans had emerged from isolation not as survivors clinging to dust, but as a civilization reborn. Hidden fleets moved with precision, supply lines stretched flawlessly across worlds, and every citizen, child, elder, warrior, engineer, played a part in the symphony of human resilience. Every action, no matter how small, carried centuries of determination. The galaxy's greatest powers had converged, fleets and emissaries alike expecting weakness. They found something else entirely: courage, ingenuity, humor in the darkest moments, loyalty that calculation, sacrifice that could not be measured in algorithms or strategy. "They're unstoppable," muttered one admiral, voice trembling as his scanners registered the full scale of human coordination. Not because they are invincible, said quietly, watching the humans below, but because they refuse to stop. The first strike of the final confrontation began, not with chaos, but with deliberate precision. Alien warships advanced, confident in superiority. But humans had anticipated every move, every assumption, every arrogance. Mines, energy reroutes, and improvised defenses turned the battlefield into a maze no enemy could navigate. Fleets that had once been formidable were neutralized with a combination of strategy and instinct honed over generations. And then came the human counter, swift, unstoppable, calculated yet instinctive. Ships emerged from hidden ports, fleets moved through unexpected trajectories, and the galaxy's finest forces found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Each human act carried the weight of a people who had endured centuries of erasure, a civilization forged in silence and patience, now fully unleashed. On the planet's surface, civilians watched with quiet awe. Children played amidst the preparation, their laughter echoing across cities and fields. Elders guided engineers and strategists, ensuring every resource was used with purpose. Soldiers moved not with fear, but with certainty, and in every action saw the same spark that had carried humanity across centuries of adversity, the refusal to vanish. A single message flashed across her console, a broadcast to the galaxy, simple yet profound: we are human, we have endured, and this system is ours. It was not a declaration of war, it was not a threat, it was a statement of fact, and the galaxy would never be able to ignore it. As the alien fleets faltered, uncertainty spreading through their ranks, realized the truth of what she had witnessed. Humans had never been defined by numbers, by technology, or by brute strength. Humans were defined by courage, by heart, by defiance in the face of impossible odds. Every fleet, every maneuver, every small act of kindness and bravery had been a testament to that truth. The final moments of the battle were almost serene, not because there was no danger, but because humans had transcended fear. They moved with the quiet confidence of those who know that survival is not enough. That endurance is only the beginning, that a people who refuse to be forgotten can change the course of the universe simply by existing. And then it was over. Alien fleets retreated, emissaries and silence settled across the reclaimed star system. The humans had not only survived, they had triumphed, not through domination, but through resilience, ingenuity, and unity. Took a deep breath, letting the weight of the moment wash over her. She remembered the countless stories of courage she had heard as a child, the legends of human defiance and perseverance. And now she saw it realized across worlds, fleets, and generations. Somewhere below, a child laughed. Somewhere, an elder nodded. Somewhere, humans stood together, unshaken, unbroken, unstoppable. The galaxy had assumed absence meant weakness. It had assumed time had erased humanity. It had assumed that forgotten meant defeated. And yet, here they were. The lost colony had returned, and in doing so, they had reminded the universe of an eternal truth. Humans endure, humans adapt, humans rise. And humans cannot be stopped. The stars above the system shimmered differently that night. Perhaps in recognition, perhaps in awe, perhaps simply because humans, once lost, had reclaimed not just a star system, but their rightful place in the galaxy, and with it, a proof that courage, hope, and defiance could echo across time itself. And as watched the humans below, she knew one thing with absolute certainty. The universe would never forget the lost colony, nor the human spirit that had made the impossible inevitable. Some spirits are born to burn in the darkness. Humans were one of them.